Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to share the latest configuration for my over-equipped mobile amateur radio station. Welcome back and thanks for being here. My name is Scott and this mobile setup is continually growing and evolving, changing, whatever. I think that it is done growing. I mean, sure, I still need to put in a 900 megahertz radio that I've been holding on to for a while, and there will be a day that for contesting purposes I will have transverters in the car. But this here, what I'm about to show you, is the core of my setup. I think I'm done growing. This is it, so I say. So let's walk you right on through it. So starting off over here on the driver's side of the dash, I will say, this is a very familiar setup for you, I think. The Icom ID-5100 here is on the bottom. This is my core radio, the radio I use every day, all the time. And it is a UHF VHF radio, or 2 meter 70 centimeter radio. It's a D-Star radio, so it's digital capable, and obviously analog. I use it analog the vast majority of the time. And then above it is my Yaesu FT-857D. This is a 15-year-old radio, and back when I bought it, I used it exclusively for HF, and now I use it almost exclusively for VHF and UHF single sideband. And I say almost, I might touch on that here in a moment. The Yaesu FT-857D is among the last of the multi-mobile radios, and so it's multi-band, multi-mode, and so it covers 160 meters up through 6 meters, so 1.8 megahertz on up to 54 megahertz, and then it covers the 2 meter band and the 70 centimeter bands, all multi-mode, so FM, single sideband, digital, RTTY, CW, AM, I can't think of them all, but it does everything on those two bands, on all of the bands really that I just mentioned. Of course, not the bands 222 and things above 450 megahertz, but it is among the last. And so these radios are actually worth more now than they were when they were brand new. And this is a 15-year-old radio. So that's what this radio does. I have it in the car mostly for VHF and UHF single sideband activity, but sometimes I do use it for HF work. For example, this radio is currently not connected to any VHF and UHF antennas because I don't have my rotator and beams mounted, but I do have my ATAS 120 alpha mounted, and so that is an HF through 450 megahertz antenna, automatic tuning, and so I can jump on that antenna and do some HF work. As you can see, I don't currently have my Scorpion mobile HF antenna mounted, and so I can just tune the ATAS with this radio. I decided to move the radio back over to this side of the car so that I can configure my regular HF equipment over here. I will show you this in just a moment, but basically over here near the driver's door, my 857D, it's there, and oftentimes it's just off because I don't do single sideband all the time, but I do use it for single sideband activity on the weekends. This is a great place for it to be, and you'll see why I moved it here in just a moment. The microphones for these two radios are on the door, and they've been like this forever, it seems. I like this position on the door. At first I had it down here by my right leg on the center console, and I didn't like it because I would bump it or rest against the microphone or whatever. Off over here, the microphones are completely out of the way, and when I open the door, the cords pull up and lift up out of the way, so they're not interfering with my feet, so I can get in and out of the car, no problem, no entanglements or anything like that. All right, moving further toward the center of the car, or at least the center of my position, here on the steering wheel. You've seen this in pictures. I have a mobile desk. And this is it here. This is just a cheap mobile desk from Amazon. It was about $15, I think, $20 max. Search Amazon or check an affiliate link below if you like, and I've got the one listed that I use, or one very much like it. It's super easy. I use it mostly for HF logging, parks on the air, or just HF work. And then if I'm the net control station for a daily coffee and radio net that my club does, then I'll put it on the steering wheel and I use it for the 2-meter nets that I NCS for. Now, if I'm running a 2-meter net, I will just use the notepad and a pen and jot down call signs. But if I'm actually logging, then I use my computer. I'll slap my laptop on this desk, or I will put, if I'm doing parks on the air, then I use a Bluetooth keyboard and a tablet to log into hammers. And speaking of the tablet, I have the tablet right above the desk, and the tablet is basically being held in place by a very simple tablet mount. Here's what that looks like. And so it just, actually I have it mounted like this, and then the strap goes through the steering wheel and then fastens this way, and I just tighten it to hold it so that it can't rotate around the steering wheel. And this thing is very adjustable, so I can adjust it to hold a wide variety of tablets, and I like it. I can turn it side to side depending on how I want to mount it. And what else can I say about it, right? So the Bluetooth keyboard works. The tablet, I used to use an external mouse as well, but now that the tablet is right here in front of my face, I just touch. I don't need a mouse. It's a touch screen, of course, so I just touch and then type, and that is how I maintain my logs. All right, so here in the middle of the car, this is what I really want to show you. I moved my FT-891 over here because I already have my MFJ screwdriver antenna controller, my 891's microphone, and now a remote controller. It's a keypad of the FH2 by Yaesu. So I already had all of this stuff for the 891 over here. So I basically consolidated it all to one place. So I just moved the 891 control head over there, and now I've got a quote-unquote HF stack of equipment. So it's all in one place. It looks nice in photographs, and it does streamline my operation just a little bit, but yeah, it was just a I want to move it sort of thing. So that's all that's going on there. Yaesu's FT-891 it's an HF rig, but it's excellent for portable and mobile use, and some people might use them in the home if they're on a budget, but this is a mobile and portable rig for the most part. And I like it as a mobile rig, of course, but then Parks on the Air and Summits on the Air people, Poda and Soda, they like it as well because it's small and it gives them 100 watts as a portable, or they can dial it down to 5 watts and use it as a QRP rig, although there are dedicated QRP rigs that I think the really hardcore QRP folks like to use instead of this radio. Unlike the 857 off over here, the 891 does not cover VHF and UHF, so this is exclusively an HF rig. If Yaesu someday were to add VHF and UHF to future FT-891s, I would buy one in an instant because that would make this rig perfect. I like this rig. I like to operate this radio more than I enjoy operating the FT-857, but the 857 has it has more transmitter capability, although I have to say that I think the 891 has better receiver filtration and things like that. The MFJ screwdriver antenna controller, this is model 1924. I like it. You might recall that I did a video about the Tunematic automatic screwdriver antenna controller, and it was good for, I don't know, I want to say for stationary use maybe, or perhaps if I had a better screwdriver installation, maybe like on a pickup truck, it would have been better for me, but it just didn't quite work out because with my antenna being so close to the ground, anything and everything can affect it. So if I leave asphalt and get onto concrete with rebar, that's going to change the tune of the antenna. When the road is wet, that changes the tune of the antenna. And so the Tunematic was nice for automatically tuning things, but it would store that memory, and then when I would push the button to go tune to there, it would automatically go to where it thinks it needs to go, and then I'd have to fine tune it. And so since I was always having to fine tune, I decided I would just rather just go back to the MFJ controller. I'm not dismissing the Tunematic, I just prefer the MFJ in my setup. This FH2 keypad down here, I haven't figured out everything that it can do, because if it was just a matter of pressing a button, let me give you a quick demo.
CQ Poda, CQ Poda, CQ Poda.
So it'll play a pre-recorded message, and I can store up to 5 and play them back. It seems a little lazy to have it, but by having this keypad here, I mean, sure, I could put the channel 1, 2, and 3 up here on my A, B, and C keys on the radio, but by having the keypad separate, that means that I can push the keys down here and then save my A, B, and C keys for, in this case, I have the noise blanker, the digital noise reduction, and then the IPO. And so I like this better. It gives me 8 keys available to me instead of just the 3. Now you might have noticed in this particular pan that there's my Yaesu antenna rotator controller, and this is a different configuration, a different setup. I have decided to, I've got this desk that I put in the car, and the controller was on the desk for a while, and I decided to remove that desk. I didn't get rid of it, but for day-to-day operations, this smaller platform works much better. I will make a separate video about the desk, if you want to call it a desk, but separate video about that and share that with you later. And since I don't have the big desk in the car anymore, I went ahead and got my hands on this seat caddy, if you will. It's marketed for kids riding in the back seat, and they put this between them and they can put their toys and games and sippy cups and whatever in it. I like this. It's a good size. It's nice and small, and I still have perfect reach of the controls on the rotator controller. And now I no longer have a place to set up my laptop, but I don't use the laptop over here anyway, so this works out all right. This is basically a transportation place for the laptop. And then right behind it, you can see my Heil Pro 7 headset. That's also nice and convenient to just hang up and then take off and put on if I want to get right to work at, say, Parks on the Air. There are a couple of items in the car that I almost forgot to tell you about. This here is a Mirage remote control for an amplifier. In this case, it is for 2 meters. It's a 160 watt amp for 144 through 148 megahertz. And you might recall that I've got a GMRS radio in the car as well, and it's not here right now. Right here is the jack where I would plug in its handset, and GMRS is a tool for me. I only use it if I'm traveling with friends or family members who are not hams, and so then I plug it in and use it as needed, and right now it's not even in the car. I do have an amplifier for UHF or 70 centimeters as well, but it does not feature a remote control. Coming soon, I have this RF switch. It's a 4-position switch, well, 5 including the center, and this is going to allow me to switch my HF transceiver to different antenna ports. Right now I'm still working on it, but it'll get there. Something else that I forget is in the car because it's tucked out of sight. I have, to support my D-Star radio, a private D-Star access point. It's in the form of a Raspberry Pi with a 2-meter mezzanine board on it. It's called a DV Mega, and that allows me to access the D-Star network with an internet connection. And so what I have for internet is this mobile hotspot by Orbic, and it's tucked in my center console, and it works really well. And when I'm in places where it doesn't work so well, I have another device that's tucked out of sight, and that is my WeBoost cellular signal booster. It's tucked under one of my access panels, and then there's an antenna on top of the car to receive weak signals. It brings the signals in, amplifies them, and then retransmits them on an interior antenna that is tucked under the interior panel. So that is all dedicated for my D-Star access. Last, I have some lights, and here you can see right here a microphone. This is a wireless mic, and it's not for the radio or anything. I use this sometimes for shooting videos. And so it's mounted to a cold shoe. Let's see if you can see that. So there's a cold shoe right here, and I have another one here off camera. So I have 2, and it seemed like a really good idea at first, but it can be a little bit of a head knocker. if I reach out the window to grab something at a drive-thru, especially if I have something mounted on this one. I guess you can see that, but if I have something mounted on this one, then yes, I do hit my head on things. So this is empty most of the time. And then you can see I have 2 more cold shoes over here, and this is where I used to mount my microphones, but now I have a light, and this is just a travel position for the light. Oftentimes what I have is it rides here, but when I really want light, I take it and I put it over here. Let me see if I can remember the orientation for it. So this is how the light rides when I'm parked. And what's going on here is, let me see if I can turn it on. All right, so this is a white light. I'm going to turn that off because it's probably blowing out my camera. Right now it's white, but I can make it red or white or really any color. And it's aimed to light down on my log or my keyboard so that I can work in the dark, because sometimes I do parks on the air POTA in the dark at late shift, and this is perfect for that. And the way it's oriented, I cannot see the white face of it, and so it shines down here and it's not shining in my face. And so this is a good orientation for it, and then I can type right here in front of me and see my logs, everything, and then a lot of my controls. So that's the light. That about covers what's in the car, my current configuration. I did not go into a lot of details about what each radio does. If you're a ham, I think you know what each of these radios is capable of. If you're not a ham, feel free to post questions if you want, and I will I'll answer them to the best of my ability. I always answer questions, so feel free to post. I'll get back to you. So as always, I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time. Take care.